On Fanalysis, we take the stats born in fantasy football combined with the latest betting trends to find the sharpest angles every week. And for that, we turn to the lead betting analyst from Pickswise, Jared Smith. Jared, let's first talk about the Jets. At one point of the game this last week, they were at plus 8,000. You think anybody took the Jets at plus 8,000 with a minute 22 left to go in the game last week?
Hope so. Are you sure you didn't I know you're a big live betting guy these days, Steve.
Man,
are you sure that wasn't you that I saw?
I tried it locked up on
I saw someone bet it. I did see someone
Seriously? Okay, well, after what we saw that Jets game, I mean, the season can be done at this point now, and I think Jets fans will be happy because of what we saw. But here we are, Jets taking on the Bengals. The Bengals, a Bengals team that the Jets knocked off last year, but the Jets are home dogs by nearly a touchdown. 89% of the money is on Cincinnati. So is there an opportunity to fade here?
I'll be honest. I like what I've seen from Joe Flacco so far. And I think he brings a steady hand. It's also ironic, back-to-back AFC. Actually, no, 3 AFC North opponents for Joe Flacco out of the gate, which is very ironic. Considering he spent all that time in Baltimore. But I think there is a certain vibe to him that's a calming presence. And a young team not panicking down 2 scores in the final 2 minutes. I'll be honest, and this is no disrespect to Zach Wilson, I don't think Zach would have been able to pull off that comeback. Even if all the variables played out in the same way, I think the steady hand of Joe Flacco was the perfect antidote to coming back in that spot. So now we get a week later against the defense that, you know, in Cincinnati is difficult. I'd say they're maybe playing slightly better than what the Browns defense is playing right now. But at the end of the day, I think this handicap is more about the Bengals and their problems than anything going on with the Jets. I think the Jets are playing pretty decent football right now, all things considered. The Bengals are not. One of the worst offensive lines in the league. They are not generating any, ability to keep Joe Burrow upright. And I think that's going to be an issue for them, obviously, down the road. But in this particular game against the Jets, listen, the Jets have some pieces on the defensive line. I would say that's the strength of their team. So this could be another tough game for Joe Burrow. And I find it very difficult laying points on the road, considering the difficulties that they're having moving the football right now.
You know, to dive a little bit deeper into Joe Burrow's problems, his turnover-worthy play percentage is at 4.8%, making him one of the highest. Justin Fields, by the way, is way up at number 1, and Joe Flacco is way at number 32 when it comes to turnover-worthy percentage plays. So the fact that he is creating more turnover-worthy plays, and it kind of points to the problems you mentioned here with the Bengals. Does that get you leaning one way or another, or is this still a game you want to stay away from?
I would stay away from this game because I think, to me, the Jets are the bet, but it's really tough to back them after the win that they had. Like, you know me, I like to buy low and sell high, and I feel like we'd be buying kind of the tip of the market for the Jets at this point after their win last week.
You're buying Bitcoin at 65,000.
Yeah, if anything, Cincinnati would be the buy low team after losing in Dallas as an 8-point favorite. So while the metrics and everything that I'm looking at, especially with the offensive line, points me in the direction of the Jets, it's just it goes against my usual strategy, which is to buy low and sell high in the NFL, and that's why it's a no play for me. But all the numbers I'm looking at scream New York. I don't understand how the Bengals are going to move the ball effectively in this game. They can't run it. The Jets are great at stopping the run, even if they could run it. And the offensive line for Cincinnati just is in shambles right now. And it's a unit that was not addressed in the offseason, even though they thought they addressed it. Those problems have continued to persist. And there is a major Super Bowl hangover right now with Cincinnati. Now, that being said, the talent there with the Bengals, they could flip the switch at any moment, and all of a sudden they're going to look like the team that went to the Super Bowl last year. But if it's consistency on the offensive line, I'm not seeing it right now for Cincy.
I don't know if Cincinnati is that team that does flip the switch. That's so much more difficult for teams to do. They have to have at least had that experience as opposed to a special one, or special season, I should say. All right, the Giants and the Cowboys, this line has moved from 3 to 1. Maybe it's because of Cooper Rush. How do you see any value in this one here?
No. This line's moved too, obviously, from the look ahead from when they thought Dak Prescott was going to be the quarterback. And then you also have the very interesting movement in the market after the Giants 2-0 start. So there's kind of, accelerated movement towards New York, away from Dak Prescott, towards this very impressive start for New York. It would push me in the direction of Dallas, but I don't fully trust Cooper Rush to go on the road and get a win. And the line's telling me if I'm going to bet this game, it's going to be basically a money line play, as the line's been floating at 1.5 for most of the week. So I think the Dallas defensive line, Micah Parsons being the main cog there, he has more quarterback wins, or excuse me, pass rush wins than like 10% of teams in the league. I mean, he's obviously leading the NFL individually, but just him collectively is better than most pass rushes for like 7 or 8 teams in the NFL so far. That's how good he's been. And let's be honest, the Giants' offensive line hasn't exactly been the model of consistency over the last few seasons. So I'm a little bit concerned that this good vibrations we're feeling with Brian Daboll might get wrecked by DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. But there are a lot of things to like about what New York has done. They haven't turned it over a ton. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley have looked in sync. Barkley certainly looked like he's a guy that's a play on this year after having a couple of injury-riddled seasons, especially last year. But again, when I look at this line, I don't really see a big market move midweek after it reopened, after the Giants, won their game. It's kind of just been floating in that no man's land between 1.5, and 2. This is a Monday night game. It's going to get a lot of handle. I'm certainly going to get to the window at some point. Probably a very small wager, maybe on the Giants, but I don't see a ton of value in this game from a gambling perspective. It feels like one of those games that's going to be fluky because you have a backup quarterback in for one team and you've got another team that's probably overachieved through their first couple of weeks. I would expect there to be a little regression at some point for the Giants, but I don't know if this is the week because we'll see what Cooper Rush can do on the other side.
And what we've learned is crazy things tend to happen on Monday nights. The unexpected happens. So that's how he sees the Jets and the Giants games. No bets. In fact, sometimes the best bet is the one you don't make. Make sure you check out our other segment on best bets. And remember, bet responsibly. For Jared Smith, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.